Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Donnie here, and I'm back with another installment in my classic TV Spotlight series. This is actually going to be the first of two videos because I didn't want to make it too long. And I'm actually revisiting a show that I've already talked about. It was actually a show that my very first video was on, and that is the Twilight Zone. Uh, Mainly wanted to go back to it because I have a second Twilight Zone shirt, a different one than the one I wore in my first video that I wanted to highlight. There it is. Um, but it's my favorite show of all time, so I figure, I have a lot to say about it. So this is gonna be a different video. I'm gonna be talking about different holidays and a Twilight Zone episode that could correspond with each holiday or a big event or whatever that I had to take some liberties. There's not really a lot that are like directly related to the holiday or take place at the time, but definitely have the same themes going on. So I'm gonna go right through the year with all the different holidays and a Twilight Zone episode to match each one. We're gonna start right at the start of the year on New Year's. Twilight Zone is known to have a marathon every year on New Year's on the Sci-Fi Channel that I always watch. Um, but there's an episode that doesn't really take place on New Year's, but definitely has the theme. As we know with New Year's, we always, there's a lot of drinking and partying, and sometimes the next day, New Year's Day, kind of you face um, the aftermath of that. And there's one episode that's especially relevant. It's from the fifth season. It was called Stopover in a Quiet Town. This episode involves a married couple who, after a night of drinking, they wind up in some strange town that they have no clue where they are. They've never heard of this town, and they go walking around trying to, figure out how they wound up here and how to get out. And it's very strange, and there's no one around, and it seems almost like a fake town. As you know, trees and other things are fake to them. So it and it why it ends up with a great twist ending that's it's pretty entertaining there. And one of and it's almost like a PSA about the dangers of drinking and getting drunk. So it's certainly relevant for New Year's. The next one is Mardi Gras. Now, this is one of the few episodes that actually take place on Mardi Gras. It was a classic episode called The Masks. It's one of my favorite ones. And it's about an old man who is dying, and he invites his family to his house on Mardi Gras. And his family is very toxic, and they're very full of themselves, and they only care about themselves and money and all that. And this old man named Jason is just disgusted with them. So he invites them to his house, and he has them all play this game where they're all gonna wear a mask, these ugly, grotesque masks, and um, they are not. The family is not thrilled, but he says that they can't get his inheritance unless they wear them. And then in the end, we find out what happens after they take off the mask. It's another great twist and a very memorable episode. So on into February is Valentine's Day, and there's several love themed episodes. Um, kind of romantic type episodes, but obviously it's the Twilight Zone, so it's gonna be a little different. There's episodes where people fall in love with robots and whatnot, and the one that I picked, it's one of my favorites, but it definitely has a very peculiar love story. It was from the fourth season, which was the only one that had hour-long episodes instead of a half hour. So this season is kind of a mixed bag, and a lot of fans may have some complaints. Not a lot of memorable episodes, but this is my favorite hour-long episode, and one of my favorites is called Miniature. It starred a young Robert Duvall, and he plays this kind of socially awkward man who frequently goes to this museum that has a little dollhouse, and he looks in the dollhouse, and there's a ballerina in there who comes to life, and he falls in love with her, and he's obsessed with her, and you know and everyone is trying to like get him to kind of snap out of it and be normal, I guess, and but he's in love with this little ballerina, and it has a very satisfying ending at the end. That's all I'll say. So my next holiday would be President's Day. Now this there is one very directly related to the president. It's called Back There. It stars Russell Johnson, who you may know as the professor on Gilligan's Island, who actually grew up in Luzerne County in EPA, so that was pretty cool. And he plays a man who goes back in time to 1865 in the night of uh, President Lincoln's assassination, and he goes around trying to prevent it. And some things unfold, and I'm not going to get, and obviously I'm not going to get into, what exactly happens, but it's a very interesting episode. Next, as we go into March, is St. Patrick's Day. Now, there's no real Irish themed episodes, but there's a lot of episodes that deal with luck, particularly when someone's luck runs out. There's a lot of This is a common theme throughout the Twilight Zone. Is people's luck running out, and there was one episode called "A Most Unusual Camera," and it's about these crooks. It's a husband and wife and a brother-in-law who are crooks and they're criminals, and they find this camera that takes pictures, but when they come out, the the picture predicts the future. Something may happen, something that is about to happen. So they get the idea that they're going to take this camera to the racetrack, take a picture of the board, and see what horse is going to win, and then go bet on that horse before the race actually happens. But of course, as with any episode, their luck definitely runs out, and they get their comeuppance. The end. So now on to April Fools. Uh, this the number of like foolish type episodes is one of my favorites. It's a more comedic episode, but definitely very memorable. It's um, it's called Hocus Pocus and Frisbee. There's a man named Mr. Frisbee, who is a really embellisher and constantly brags about himself and makes in a jokingly manner and makes up stories, and he claims to have all these degrees and from so many colleges, and he's an inventor and met famous and important people and done all these different things, and what happens is the people of the town always kind of dismiss him, but the people in the but these aliens come to visit, and they have no sense of sarcasm or irony or satire, and they take everything he says at face value and believe everything that he claims, and they want to take him back to their planet to help them because he's supposed to be some genius according to them. And it features one of the craziest endings I've ever seen in a Twilight Zone episode. It was just it's pretty bizarre. Now on to Easter, which is sometimes in March, but usually in April. And there's a number of religious themed episodes. No, no episodes that like directly related to the Bible or anything, but concept of good and evil and heaven and hell is definitely a prevailing theme throughout the show. And one of my favorite episodes is called The Hunt. It's about a man, a countryman named Hyder Simpson and his dog, and they both sadly drown in the lake. And but he doesn't initially realize that he's dead, but eventually comes to terms with it, and as he tries to make his way onto heaven, But I'm not gonna get into it, but it's a very interesting um, scenario that he faces in his quest to get to heaven. But it's a very sweet and heartwarming episode. So when so now into May is Mother's Day, and there weren't a lot of episodes about mothers. Or something. I don't know. I don't want to call Twilight Zone misogynistic, but definitely, sometimes some of the depictions of women in the show, aren't the best. There's a lot of stereotypical shrewish wives and constant complainers to their husbands, and you know. But there was one episode. It's definitely a motherly episode. It's called "I Sing the Body Electric." That was actually written by the legendary sci-fi writer Ray Bradbury, and he and in this episode, there's a father and his three children, and their mother has passed away, and he finds out about these like robot grandmothers. This company that makes robot lifelike robots that will come into your home that can come into your home and act as a grandmother to them. And one of the daughters is very skeptical and doesn't take to this new grandmother, but it's an episode a lot about family and the motherly love. So I figure that is the best for Mother's Day. So I'm gonna get into the rest of the holidays throughout the year, but coming up on 13 minutes, so I didn't want to make it too long. So stay tuned for my next installment in this. And take it easy.